10 or 15 seconds to get this going. And it is just now 7:15.
Once it's all set up down here, I'll run it.
Okay.
I want it here.
It's going to take. See, I can't see anything right now, guys, because we're loading for YouTube here. So, oh,
Make sure you mute YouTube as soon as it starts here.
okay, hang on a second. One more thing.
Okay, it's already muted. We're good.
Okay. So now I want to go back to the Zoom.
Will this also be on channel 4?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to open a slide
just-
right now.
He's
I
going to
just
go
got
open
a
it. So
notification, actually.
Yeah, you're good. You're live on YouTube.
we can go ahead. All right. You want me to read the heading, Domingo?
I would think so.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This is the agenda's emergency meeting. City Council of the City of Blue Island, Illinois, held remotely on Sunday, March 22nd, 2020 at 7:15 p.m. as permitted by Executive Order 2020-07, signed by Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on March 16th, 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Number one is call to order. Domingo will call the meeting to order, I guess.
Yeah, I'll call the meeting to order.
And then next
You want to
is
do the
roll
Pritzker?
call.
Roll call, go ahead.
Okay, Casidas. Casidas absent. Rita.
Here,
Rita here. Donahue.
Here.
Donahue here. Holly.
Here.
Holly here. Farrenwald.
Here.
Farrenwald here. Hill.
Here.
Hill here. Mac.
Here.
Mac here. Carr.
Here.
Carr here. Cantelo-Zylman.
Here.
Cantelo-Zylman here. Slattery. Slattery absent. Clinker.
Here.
Clinker here. Johnson. Johnson absent. Alexander.
here,
Alexander here. Bellato. Bellato.
Here.
Bellato here. We
Here.
have 11 present, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
So
Continue.
number 3 is new business. A, consideration of whether city has fulfilled its duty under section 91.06 of the city code by cooperating fully with the state ESDA and with the governor and the city's determination to determine emergency police safety services in the city of Blue Island following the executive orders related to the gubernatorial disaster proclamation.
Randy, this is Kerry. Before you proceed further, I think the other people on the call should also identify themselves.
Okay.
This is Kerry Horvath, the city attorney from. Matt, do you want to identify yourself?
Matt Welch, Legislative Counsel.
Kelly Burke, City Attorney.
Okay.
And I saw, didn't I see Mark? Mark?
Mark
Don
Scarlato,
Chief of Homeland
Legislative
Security Emergency
Counsel.
Management for City of Blue Island.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Who was the last? Who was the last?
Co-Chief, Homeland Security Emergency Management, City of Blue Island.
The last two callers. This is Kerry Horvath. Who were the last two identifiers?
Mark Scarlato, Legislative Counsel. I'm with Montana Welch.
And it was Don Marchbanks and Ken Abels.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outside of the alderman and the mayor and the clerk, correct? Carrie, Matt,
Correct.
Kelly, Mark Scarlato, Don Marchbanks, and Ken Abels?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. All right, so A, I don't know. Matt, that's your item, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, that was prepared in discussions with Alderman Bellato and based on discussions with, communications received from the governor's office that set off this emergency issue this morning, Tiffany Newbern, that no one really knew what was going on. And Alderman Bellato, if you want to jump in.
So overall, I think everything here is pertaining to, in this disaster emergency situation, is the fire chief in conjunction with the police chief would be the hands on deck to handle any emergency communication and so on, going forward under this emergency act with the governor. I believe a lot of this language came from Carrie, is that correct?
So Alderman, we're on item 3A, and this is more of a discussion item than an action item per se. This is
It's all related,
just review. What's that?
It's all related. Go ahead.
Right. So there was concern that nothing was coordinated with the governor's office based on the communications that went out this morning.
So
I
at
guess
midnight,
it's more.
my phone's going off. I'm sure. I'm gonna start with Bellato. Start with my last name. Starting with midnight or thereabouts, my phone was off. I turned it off because I didn't notice it was going off. It was on silent. All this morning, police officers, some high-ranking police officers, were contacting me saying they didn't know who was in charge. A lot of confusion, up to other aldermen finding this morning. Still, to this point, we have no communication saying what exactly happened. So.
If I may interrupt for a second, we have Will Cazares and Dexter Johnson with us now.
Present.
Hi, my
Sorry.
name is, it's Alderman Nancy Rita, and I also would like to agree with Alderman Bellato. I had gone up to the police department first thing this morning. I needed to get something out of my mailbox, and I was going to ask a clerk if they could maybe pass it along or something. And I get up there and the lights are closed. The door is locked. It was like a ghost town and there wasn't anyone there. And at that point, I contacted Alderman Klinker because I thought maybe he may be aware of something since he was with the chair of the over the fire and police. So I was concerned, very concerned. And I had checked my email and I did not receive anything at all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this
And
is
then-
Alderman Hill. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. And then also I had a constituent who needed to file, who was instructed to go to the police department to file a report. She was instructed on Saturday to go up Sunday morning, which I didn't think we were doing that, but that's besides the point. So then I was there with this my neighbor actually, and I told her I apologized. I did not know what was going on and I had no idea. And I would try to contact someone and I would try to get a phone number for her to call, which I did to help her resolve her issue. But I was embarrassed as well. I was livid.
Hi, this is Alderman Hill, Johnny Hill. I got a phone call from my next door neighbor asking me what happened at the police department, and I was not aware of what was happening, so I told him I would find out and get back to him. I think that we should have been notified of what was happening.
Domingo, any other comments, or is that it from everyone?
This is Alderman Carr. The first I knew about this was about 3 o'clock this afternoon. I was texted by a constituent and she said it was all over Facebook. So I went to Facebook and frankly, I'm appalled that we have to learn about what's happening in the city from Facebook. I checked my email. There's no email. We never got a call. We never got a text. People are starting to panic thinking that the town is overrun with coronavirus, or we've completely shut down the police department and we're going to turn into the Old West. There's no excuse for us not being notified of what was going on.
This is Cantelo-Zylman. I also had the same problem. My phone was ringing off the hook this morning, and I kept telling them, no, they're just not going on minimum calls. I had no idea that it was total quarantine. So my phone was blowing up today.
This is Alderman Alexander. I had the same experience, and I am very pissed at the fact that things that was going on for the city of Blue Island, where I am an alderman, was on the news and Facebook before I was notified. So I don't understand that, and I need some answers to that.
It's Alderman Meck, the same here. Early afternoon, I started seeing blips on Facebook, and people were calling me with more information than what I had. And I have no understanding why we were not informed so we could tell our residents what was going on. There's no reason for this.
This is Alderman Nancy Rita. I agree in regards to the Old West comment. What kind of BS cowboy move was this? I mean, what the hell is going on? I don't get it. I'm just so upset.
All right.
Hold on, Randy. This is Alderman Donahue. Just wanted to agree with everybody. Same thing, 9:30 in the morning. Actually, someone in the governor's office called me asking if this rumor was true. And I said, I haven't heard anything, and I let them know. And same thing, I talked to Alderman Bellato, and none of us were made aware. And I think this is kind of all week I've been asking for information regarding how we're handling the COVID-19, what's being done to protect our employees, and no information's been relayed back. So just wanted to also chime in that disappointed that there's been no communication and this was handled by the mayor's office.
So I'm not, this is Matt Welch. I'm not looking to take over the meeting, but I guess it stands to ask, Mayor, can you provide them some background on what communications were taken?
Sure, let me
decisions were being made.
There's a detailed timeline that's coming out. We've been still working on it. Let me give you a brief outline as to what went down. Approximately 10:15 late last night, I received a call from Chief Arzab that one of our employees had tested positive. As soon as she informed me of that, I got in contact with our Homeland Security Emergency Management Agency personnel chiefs and informed them of the situation. They immediately contacted both their state higher ups as well as county higher ups, the sheriff's office to be on standby, and we needed advice and recommendations and procedures of where we were going. I also reached out to a person who I know is very close to the governor, informed them of their situation, that we would need assistance from his office and possibly even the state police. Around 10:45 last night, the Cook County Sheriffs did arrive with a minimum 6 vehicles, along with a white shirt, as they call it. And Chief Arzab also, we were informed of that as to what was going, as well as we had communications with our city lawyer. And I also left a message, but didn't get a return until early this morning to Alderman Tom Cawley, our Mayor Pro Tem, as to, I was going to give him updated as to where we were. From there, once we knew that the sheriff's police were in town, then it was decided based on information that we have received from the Centers of Disease Control federally, as well as the Public Health Administration from the county and the state, that we needed to get our personnel outside of that building as soon as possible. Once we did that, and once we knew that the state county offices were in town, they were told them to proceed to go home and wait further instructions, and possibly even them voluntarily set themselves aside from their family members until we knew more information. After that, both the city attorney and myself, as well as Chief Arzab, were in communication, as well as our directors of Homeland Security Emergency Management, to find out what responses we had received from the state, from the county, et cetera, as to where we were going. Again, they said we needed to get our people out. We got them out. Then was the situation we needed to find out through and then we got in contact with our HR person. We needed to know who this person or persons were. And that's when I was informed there was possibly another employee who was taken to a hospital and was awaiting results. Based on that, we then decided, with the recommendation from the state and from the county health officials, and one of them being the doctor of the health department for the county, that we needed to work quickly to find out who these people had spoken to, had been with within the last week, within the last days, what vehicles had they used, equipment, et cetera. And we're still working on that. From my understanding, there might even be some other individuals that might be involved, and we're still, as we're speaking, getting that information here at our center. With that information, let me continue.
Mayor, I got a question.
Who's this?
Go ahead, it's Bellato.
Oh, so here's the situation. The police station is being cleaned as we speak. They've been working on it for the past almost an hour and a half, 2 hours. The recommendation from the county health doctor, who's in charge of it, said that once it's cleaned and once we get more information as to our own personnel, we could decide who can come back and who would have to stay away. Once the green light is done, then, we go on with business. Hopefully it's business as usual, but they didn't want anybody to go back into that building without knowing their current health state.
Mayor, this is Alderman Johnson. I just got a question. I got a question. Do we have any prisoners?
No.
Okay.
In fact, last night, thank God that the governor, and we want to thank him, I've spoken to their staff, that as a result of the stay-in mandate, as well as the closure of the restaurants and the bars, nothing really was open in Blue Island last night, and it was pretty much a quiet night. And so, the county is still here, and they'll remain here until we get our officers back into the police station. And as I said, the police station, as we speak, is being worked on, being clean.
Okay, this is Alderman Nancy Rita. That's a bunch of baloney, okay? I'm sorry to say it. I understand that all this went on, but first of all, why weren't the emergency protocols that we have in place followed? That's
we have what's called an emergency action plan.
We have Chief Rita, we have Chief Arzab. I mean, you should be following their direction. They are trained in this. Number two, and number three, what? I'm sorry, go ahead.
From my understanding, the governor is in control. Then the mayor has our thing, as well as our emergency management agency are the protocol, and we've been following orders from the state.
That's fine. And then also, why weren't we, this is Alderman Nancy Rita again, why wasn't anybody contacted? We get all calls for parades. We get all calls when St. Benedict's is having a party. Why wasn't anybody contacted? I mean, you could have at least sent an email. There is an emergency situation going on. I'm trying to take some action. I mean, something.
Alderman Bellato here. Who is the person, because we're hearing two cross messages. Who is the person from the state that was contacted? Is the chief of police on this phone call or on this meeting right now? Because I'm hearing different information from our staff that was there last night saying they were sent home for 14 days. These are high-ranking
14 days,
police
Mayor.
officers.
That's incorrect.
Is Chief Arzab on this call? This is Alderman Nancy Rita.
No, I don't have her recorded as here.
So Chief Arzab is presently inside the police station, all geared up, and she's assisting in observing the cleanup of the police station as we speak. She's been in there for the past almost hour and a half, 2 hours.
This is Alderman Donahue. Who in the governor's office did you speak to regarding this? The direction that came down today was no one from the governor's office has spoken to you or heard from anyone on staff.
Whose advice was this? It broke
I
up.
can get you that information. I got to look at my notes. I got a whole yellow pad of notes. We'll go through it. And that's why I'm preparing the statement so you can see a whole timeline, what time we spoke to who we spoke to, from what office, even from the Centers of Disease Controls in Washington. We've been in communication with them, the state, and the county. So that's what I'm preparing right now.
Mayor, this is Alderman Alexander, I'm sorry. You found out this information at 10:15 last night. Why not at 10:16 when you got off that phone call? Why did you not communicate that information to the aldermen? I need to know that, because nowhere on your timeline, your detailed timeline, did you say you contacted and got communications to the aldermen.
Here's one situation again. We were in the process of trying to see where we were. We're in the process again dealing with our human resources, so that again, there's some information that I cannot give out, and we're still in the process of getting information, and we're still in the process of getting information regarding the situation.
But because of the situation, we should have been notified. So then when our residents contacted us asking questions, we could have at least gave them some type of information. We didn't even know what was going on. How embarrassing. But you contacted
my main interest has been the safety of the employees of the City of Blue Island, their families, as well as the residents, and we've been addressing that as quickly and as promptly as we can. As I
There's
said,
been nothing from your office
I will give you a
regarding
timeline
this. It's been all
as to everything.
social media and the news. Nothing from you.
Alderman
It's 7:30, almost a full day.
This is Cantelo-Zylman. We got more on Facebook than we did from anybody else.
There is an email. If you check your emails, there was an email sent out.
That said what? We read it. It didn't say anything about the police.
Are you talking?
Close. That was
Are you talking about the one this evening?
This is Alderman Farnwald. Could I speak?
Yes.
Thank you. I also share the frustration about not knowing about this earlier. That I didn't know about it till 3 o'clock myself, and I understand that. It does sound. I think that we should have been communicated with earlier. It does sound like the mayor had his hands full with some fairly significant issues, so I can understand why maybe we didn't hear from him immediately. Nevertheless, it sounds like we got some things we need to take care of here tonight, and there's going to be a timeline, and we can probably, go back over these issues at a later date when we're not in the middle of an emergency. So I just like to suggest that maybe we move on with the agenda and get to it.
This is Alderman Nancy Rita. I just have one question. What time did you actually contact Pro Tem Alderman Tom Hawley? It sounds like we weren't even communications
last night.
with him.
There is no mayor pro tem right now, according to the city council.
I left a message. I left a message with the alderman last night.
This is Alderman Clinker.
Chief, this is Alderman Johnson. If we could run some things through Chairman Clinker, since he's the chairman of Public Health and Safety, and then maybe he can reach out to us. I understand you got a lot on your plate, and it might be hard for you to reach each and every alderman. But if you could run things through our chairman for Public Health and Safety, and that way maybe he can reach out to us and keep us abreast of what's going on.
No problem. Thank you.
So this is Jim Clinker. Real quick. So this timeline, excuse me, that we're going to have is going to have names of who you talked to, what times you talked to them, and what they told you.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So the next thing I have is, and probably most of the other aldermen don't know this, Friday I was asked by the mayor to be part of the emergency management team. I went up and met with him and Mr. Abels from Baishima, I'm sorry. So Mr. Mayor, just something in the future. I mean, this is something that we all need to know about. It probably would have been a good idea to at least contact me, and then I could have contacted people to let them know what's going on. I myself didn't find out about this until Nancy Rita called me at noon, a full 14 hours, 12 to 14 hours after this happened. So, I mean, this is something that we need to know because we're getting all kinds of calls and questions and problems and panic from people, and to find out about it. And then as far as the email that you sent out, If you're referring to the one that was sent out by Marisol at 3:53 tonight, basically it just says, we can't tell you anything because we don't want to identify the employee. That's pretty much what it says. And we will continue to navigate the situation. We respectfully ask everyone to reframe asking questions. We'll make sure to continue updating you as it evolves. Other than that, we've got nothing officially from your office.
I agree. We should move on with this agenda. I think this is the smartest thing we can do. We're asking for the fire chief to coordinate with the police chief going forward with any disaster issues. I think this is common sense. This is what other towns do. The fire chief is capable, I believe, of doing this, and I want to move along with the agenda.
All right. In that case, this is Matt Welch. Item C is an ordinance amending Chapter 91, and I provided an ordinance in discussion with Alderman Bellato, and it was sent to Randy, who I believe sent it out to everyone. What this does is it eliminates ESDA, Emergency Services Disaster Agency, from your code. This does not prevent emergency services within the city. It's similar to the agenda, that item that was prepared by Clerk Hauser. Under state statute, the emergency services coordinator is appointed by the mayor. The coordinator has the authority to provide emergency services and direct the disaster operations within the municipality. A lot of questions were raised about the directions and communications that were occurring through this past incident. So what this would do is eliminate ESDA. That doesn't mean that emergency services cannot then occur. You have the ability to identify a separate liaison to coordinate with other emergency relief agencies on the state and local level. So C would eliminate the Blue Island ESDA, and item E, the proposal is to make the chief of the fire department the liaison for these emergency services matters.
I have a question.
This is before you ask your question, this is Kerry Horvath. This is a matter which was discussed throughout the day, and this in effect places the fire chief in the position of at least supervising the city's emergency response. And the ESDA ordinance is a very old ordinance. It was first passed in 1975 and then was just amended in 2015, but only to change the name of the organization. If you're going to adopt another ESDA ordinance in the future, you would probably sit down as a group or as a committee and determine what authority you would like to provide to the ESDA coordinators. But by, in effect, rescinding or repealing the sections of the ordinance that are in front of you, and then considering the motions to appoint the fire chief to direct and manage in consultation with the chief of police and the city council, the emergency response, you would be, in effect, bringing the authority to direct and basically supervise the city's response to the fire chief. And along with the police chief, they could consult and do what they've been trained to do.
So that's an action item. I need a
This is
motion.
Alderman Nancy Rita. Hold on, this is Alderman Nancy Rita, and that's what my question was. Does the chief of police also have the authority to make decisions as well? Is it both of them? That's what I didn't understand.
Well, the chief, Nancy, this is Kerry Horvath. The chief would, or Alderman Rita, the chief of the fire department would direct and manage the city's response in consultation with the chief of police. And he would also provide updates to the city council concerning what is taking place. What this would hopefully do would be eliminate some of the confusion that took place as a result of some of the decisions that were made last night. I'm not casting aspersions on the decisions, but what this would do would be place the decision-making authority, at least initially, in the hands of the chief to consult, the two chiefs to consult and then report to the corporate authorities.
Okay, my next question, Alderman Nancy Rita, my next question is Chief Arzab on board with this? Has anyone spoke with her since she's not on the call?
Nancy, I don't know, but I would presume that Chief Arzab, since she wants to get the police department back online and up and running, I'm going to presume that she would welcome the opportunity to be in a position to consult directly with Chief Rita and then report to the corporate authorities. Right now, I believe she's in the police station supervising the cleanup that's taking place, or the cleaning that's taking place. So have I spoken directly and asked her, are you online with this kind of a motion? No, but then this motion, the discussion of this motion is really coming about as a result of the agenda, which was just recently circulated. But I don't know that Chief Arzab would be opposed to it, Nancy.
Alderman Bellato, I'm sure the police chief, Alderman Bellato, I'd like to talk now. I think the police chief and the fire chief, by taking these positions, they know they have a responsibility to run their departments, and they're trained to run their departments. And that's why between the fire chief and the police chief, other towns in the past, even in Blue Island, the fire chief oversaw emergency services and emergency responses. So that's why I feel the fire chief is capable of doing this. There's so much confusion last night. Like I said, my phone was going off the hook like many of you. And this is an issue that I think we should all be able to get on board with. We're treading new waters here. This has never happened before in my history of paying attention to the history of Blue Island. And we need to do something like this. And I think the fire chief would be able to handle that for us and at least communicate to the rest of the council, the mayor and whoever else, what's going on in case something like this happened. This is not something we hope happens every single day. This is a special scenario. But I think we need somebody that's capable of communication and hands-on action and making last-minute decisions. And it all has to be one person. And between working with the police chief, the fire chief, I think is the best quality person for that position.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody was on board. That's all. Thank you.
This is Mayor Vargas. I want to know if we can have somebody from ESDA at least give some kind of presentation to you guys.
Alderman Bellato, again, I think right now we need to get past this because we're handling an emergency situation. If we're going to eliminate ESDA temporarily, we can reopen it under Chairman Klinker's committee to discuss what the new look of ESDA would be, or BEMA, or the Emergency Relief Services, however it is, it will fall under public health and safety. But I think right now we need to appoint people that are more than capable to handle this position and handle a crisis immediately. Stuff could be happening right now. We need to fix this problem now, and then we can work on a long-term solution later.
And this is Alderman Johnson. I have to agree a bit with Alderman Bellato, but I was wondering why couldn't all three of them or all three heads work in conjunction with each other? Understanding ESDA didn't have that much funding until a couple of years ago, but if they could all work in conjunction with each other with Alderman Klinker, that would be great.
That's fine. I really agree with that also, Alderman.
So item 3C is an action item, consideration of an ordinance of the City of Blue Island, Illinois, amending Chapter 91 of the Code of City of Blue Island. It's an action item. If discussion is done, need a motion and a second to approve it.
I'll make a motion.
I have one more question. Alderman Downey has a question. If this passes, will the members of ESDA will no longer exist? Will they be turning their keys and all city-owned property into somebody soon? Will somebody be coordinating that?
Alderman, why don't we hold off on the details with respect to that until Tuesday?
Excuse me.
When we meet, this could be something that could be. This is Kerry Horvath. We could follow through on that. I don't think anybody gave serious or detailed consideration to that, because the folks at ASDA do provide a valuable service to the city. It's just a question now of, in a circumstance such as this, where you have this type of an emergency, who is going to be coordinating the city's services, or the city's response, excuse me, and the services that will flow from it. So that detail is something that we can discuss. But at this point, you would be eliminating their supervisory authority, or an exercise of supervisory authority.
All right, no, that's
Council,
fine.
this
I'm
is
fine
Mayor
waiting.
Vargas. Could we have somebody from ESSA just give a brief presentation, please?
I think tonight, I made a motion already to pass number C if there's a second. We got to get
Alderman
past all
Donahue
this.
seconds the motion.
I think we need to really reconsider this because the thing is, they've been volunteering their time for the longest. And I'm just saying we could amend it by adding the chief of police and the chief of fire to it, instead of eliminating something that they've been working hard for. We shouldn't just dismiss their hard work like this. That's wrong.
Alderman Johnson, I don't think that, this is Alderman Bellato again. I don't think that's what this is about. I think we kind of have to do this if we're rearranging, giving the authority to the fire chief. By all means, public health and safety can take it up to rebuild it however they see fit. I think this is an emergency situation. We have to volunteer.
Ladies and gentlemen. Before you eliminate this department, I would like to speak to you.
Randy, I move we move on the question, please. There's already been a motion and a second.
All right.
You've done an awful lot of eliminating, but you haven't let us speak.
Mr. Clerk, there's been a motion and a second, and I just moved it again.
There's a motion by Bellato, second by Donahue. Discussion. Costas.
Aye.
Costas, aye. Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Hawley.
Aye.
Hawley, aye. Farnwell.
I believe we can deal with the details later, so I'm going to say aye.
Farnwell, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Mack.
Aye.
Mack, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Cantelo-Zylman.
Aye.
Cantelo-Zylman, aye. Clinker.
Aye.
Clinker, aye. Johnson.
No.
Johnson, no. Alexander.
Aye.
Alexander, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. 12 ayes and 1 no, Your Honor. Item number D is consideration of a motion pursuant to the authority granted under Division 1 of Article 2 of the Illinois Municipal Code, directing the Chief of Police of the Blue Island Police Department pursuant to authority granted under Section 33.040 of the Code of Blue Island, Illinois, to promptly take all necessary and appropriate action to reinstate the provision of police safety services, parents, emergency and non-emergency, and parents, through the City of Blue Island's Police Department as soon as possible.
I'll make the motion.
Bellato motion.
Carr, I'll second it.
Who is, Carr, okay. Discussion?
I just think this clarifies what I'm pretty sure the chief probably already is doing, putting our people back to work that can safely under the guidelines that are instituted with the state of Illinois.
Further discussion?
Does she know? Has anybody contacted her, or are we just voting without her knowledge?
I just asked that, Alderman.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We're getting ready to vote without knowledge, just as well as I asked the question before about the work that Esther put in before we voted no on.
Alderman, respectfully, this is Matt Welch. You're telling her to take all necessary and appropriate action to reinstate the services as soon as possible. If there's necessary actions that need to be taken prior to opening, she's being authorized to do that. It's not a blind directive to open this second. It's a recognition that actions need to be taken, but whatever they are, to start them to get the services reinitiated as quickly as possible.
This is Alderman Clinker, real quick. Sorry, Bill. You want to go first? Go ahead, Bill. Okay, I'll go. So I talked to Chief Arzab earlier in the day. She in fact was against closing. She was ordered by the mayor to close. That was also told to me by Mr. Abels from Baima earlier in the day when I talked to him. So I have no doubt in my mind that the chief wants to get that station up and running and get her people doing what they're supposed to do. So no, I don't think anyone's actually asked her per se. She did tell me that she was going to be in the station supervising the cleanup because there's confidential information that she didn't want just laying around for cleanup people to go through. That's why she's not on this call. That's why she's in the station. So, I can't speak for her per se, but her actions sure show me that she really wants to get the police station, our police, back up and running and safely. Thank you. Go ahead,
My
Bill.
question, Jim, Alderman Clinker, I agree. I'm sure she wants to get this running up again. I don't doubt it. I don't see any harm in this motion. I guess I'm just not sure why it's necessary. I would think this is what she's supposed to do anyway.
This is
Alderman
Alderman.
Alderman Bellato.
It is
Nancy, go ahead.
necessary because of what happened last night. I'm sorry, Fred, Alderman
Alderman
Bellato.
Bellato, I think exactly, just empowers her that she can, with no strings attached, get the police department up and running without having to worry about someone over her head telling her what to do, like happened last night.
Alderman, just so you're aware, this is Kerry Horvath. Chief Arzab has had her administrative sergeant, Dennis Stepasy, in communication with the various officers in the department who will be asked to come back to work. And he is attempting, probably as we're speaking and having this meeting, attempting to make arrangements so that they will be able and ready to come back to work, hopefully in the morning when the cleaning of the station has been completed. But I would think that Deputy Chief Arzab
Chief Arzab's
is
powers
well
are never-
aware that she wants to get that she has to get the station back up and running. Okay.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion? Costas.
Aye.
Costas, aye. Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Mac.
Aye.
Mac, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Cantelo-Zylman.
Aye.
Cantelo-Zylman, aye. Clinker.
Aye.
Clinker, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Alexander.
Aye.
Alexander, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. 13 ayes, Your Honor. Next is item E, motion to appoint the chief of the fire department to direct and manage in consultation with the chief of police and the corporate authorities, the city's continuing emergency response to the executive orders issued in relation to gubernatorial disaster proclamation.
I'll make a motion. Alderman Bellato.
Bellato, motion.
Second, next.
Mac, second. Discussion on that item.
And this is another one where I believe in the past, under Fire Chief Kopp or past fire chiefs, at the end of the day, someone has to make a decision. And with consultation with the police chief, with running her own department, the fire chief, I think, is the one that has more extensive knowledge when it comes to disasters than a police chief. And nothing against the police chief, but someone at the end of the day, the buck stops here. And I think the fire chief would be a better position to make any last minute calls if there's a disagreement between the police and the fire.
Chief Rita, since you're on the line, what do you have to say about this?
Obviously, it's an unfortunate thing that's taken place, and at the end of the day, I think that our sole focus should be the well-being of the city, the residents of the city, and coordinating our efforts and focusing our efforts on trying to do what's best for those residents, and obviously have open communication with everybody, regardless of anything else going on, in order to ensure that you guys have the information to give to your constituents. And at the end of the day, again, life safety is paramount. And that's what, the fire department's about. I believe I think that's all three entities. That's what it's about. But, with this decision, obviously there's a lot of responsibility that is going to go along with that. And we're going to do the best we can to continue moving forward and keeping you guys educated on what's going on.
Further discussion?
Thank you, Chief.
Costas.
Aye.
Costas, aye. Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Mac.
Aye.
Mac, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Cantelo-Zylman.
Aye.
Cantelo-Zylman, aye. Clinker.
Aye.
Clinker, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Alexander.
Aye.
Alexander, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. 13 ayes, Your Honor. Next is item F, motion directing the chief of the fire department to provide timely updates to the corporate authorities regarding the city's preparedness for the provision of safety and emergency services to the residents of the city during the gubernatorial disaster proclamation.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Alderman
second.
Hill, second. Hill, second.
And this one
Discussion?
also, so I think the fire chief does a good job right now when the concerns when there's a major fire in town. I'm sure he'll continue this using his best practices on if there's a situation like occurred last night, you would timely inform the alderman just in case a constituent would have a concern.
That's correct.
Further discussion?
I have Alderman Donahue, I have a question. In relates to this, I know it has to do with updating everyone, and I know the fire chief did a good job last week of asking the Browns to put stuff up, so I'm sure he's capable of this. But I know the mayor said he asked or told Alderman Tom Hawley about 10:30, 11 last night. Alderman Hawley, can you confirm that the mayor called you last night to tell you what was going on?
My phone was dead and I did not get the message until about 11:15 this morning. And then I called the mayor back and he told me, and when I hung up the phone, I called him back about 10 minutes later, got his answering machine, and I said that I thought that we should notify the rest of the city council because it was only a matter of time before stuff was going to start showing up on Facebook, and that's not how we should all hear about it.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate that.
And even still, at this point in night, at 8 o'clock at night, we haven't got any details or information given to us without using employees' names. I think something should have been given to us so we can answer our constituents.
Further discussion?
Alderman Alexander.
Go ahead.
So, Chief, per this motion, I'm asking that even though it says provide timely updates to the city council, I would really appreciate it with something such an emergency like last night, that we would not have to wait until the next day. Within a couple of hours after such incident, we can be notified. That's all I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Alderman Johnson. Is there any way we're gonna be able to give Chief Rita some assistance? You know what I'm saying, with asking for extra duties and things of this nature?
Alderman Johnson, I believe his scenario, just like the police department at the last finance meeting, if Alderman Donahue wants to clarify, we're reevaluating that whole scenario very soon. If Alderman Donahue wants to fill in more information.
Yeah, I know we made the commitment that we would revisit this by April 30th. We are voting on the full appropriation on Tuesday's meeting. And then we did have the commitment in the finance committee meeting that we will be reevaluating it within the 6 weeks or so until April 30th.
The meeting is really not one to discuss the appropriation, but I think Alderman Johnson, this is Kerry Horvath, Alderman Johnson was inquiring whether there would be an additional stipend included, given the fact that Fire Chief Rita is going to be undertaking some significant responsibilities that were originally designated for the ESDA coordinator. You do have your appropriation meeting Tuesday. Since this matter is really, the subject of an appropriation is really not on this particular agenda, it probably should not be discussed, just even though this is an emergency meeting designed to address the circumstances that occurred last night with respect to the police department. I think we'd be better off if you want to discuss this in detail to do it Tuesday when we have the appropriation.
Thank you, Attorney Horvath, and I agree. I think, again, going with the police chief and fire chief, this is part of their job, and we can discuss more details later on, but I think he's done a good job as the fire chief notifying what's going on. So I think he can continue doing that with these scenarios.
Item F, any further discussion? Costas.
Aye.
Costas, aye. Rita. Alderman Rita. I'll come back to her.
She must have
Donahue.
disappeared.
Donahue.
I'm an aye.
Aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Mac.
Aye.
Mac, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Cantelo-Zylman.
Aye.
Cantelo-Zylman, aye. Clinker.
Aye.
Clinker, aye. Johnson.
I'm saying aye only because we need to revisit this with the Chairman Clinker and Finance.
Okay. Johnson, aye. Alexander.
Aye.
Alexander, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. We'll try back to Alderman Rita. Okay. Let me see if she logged back in. Oh, here she is. Allow to talk. Alderman Rita.
Aye.
Alderman Rita, aye. She must have logged off and logged back on. I had to re-allow her to talk. 13
I don't know
ayes.
what happened. I apologize.
You're good. You must have logged off and logged back on because every time someone logs back in, I have to allow them to talk. So, okay, so 13 ayes. Item number G, amend or repeal ordinance number 2015-002, an ordinance amending ordinance relating to the establishment and organization of the Emergency Services and Disaster Agency and Blue Island Emergency Management Agency for the City of Blue Island, Cook County, Illinois.
So, Clerk Hauser and, Carrie, feel free to jump in, but I think items G and H are moot in light of the passage of item C.
You tell me.
G and H were on there because they were on the agenda that Clerk Hauser initially distributed.
The provision, Alderman, the provisions of the existing ESDA ordinance are going to be completely, if it's going to be revised at all, will be completely different than they presently exist. But Matt, I think it's probably appropriate that they can take both of these together and have one vote, and then it would accomplish without any confusion the elimination at this point in time of those authorities that were included in those ordinances, and it would give Alderman Clinker's committee an opportunity to start with a clean slate.
Thank you. This is Alderman Bellato. Thank you, Attorney Horvath. I make a motion for GH, and I agree we need to send it to Public Health and Safety.
Motion by Bellato to
Hill,
repeal.
second.
And who was the second?
Alderman Hill.
Hill was the second. This is to repeal both G and H.
Correct.
Okay, so discussion. Okay, Costas.
Aye.
Costas, aye. Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hill, aye. Mac.
Aye.
Mac, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Cantelo-Zylman.
Aye.
Cantelo-Zylman, aye. Clinker.
Aye.
Clinker, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Alexander.
Aye.
Alexander, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. 13 ayes, Your Honor. Next item is public comment. There's no public here. Next is a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I move to adjourn. Donahue.
Rita, second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So, I guess, Alderman, we don't have to have the trial run tomorrow because we pretty much did it tonight. So I will be canceling that meeting request. That's okay
All
with
right.
everyone, unless you want another trial, I can come down here. That's fine.
If you want to babysit my kids before I put them all to bed, that's why I had to move locations 3 times here.
Yeah.
So,
No,
I
okay,
will,
so
Fred. I,
All right,
I got
next,
you, Alderman
come on by
Bellato.
then.
All right, so I will cancel that test, the test for people to call in to see if their connection works, because 13 of us are here, so I will cancel
Okay.
it tomorrow.
All right,
All
thanks.
right.
Randy.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good night.
All right,
Stay
good night.
healthy.
Stay
Be
safe.
safe.
Randy, thank you very much.
Sure enough, take care.
Bye. Thanks.
Good night, Mayor.
That was awesome. Good job, Randy. Yay.
Yeah, thank you,
We
Mary.
got it done. I'm so happy about that. All right, cool. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Night.
Good night.
Night.